Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me here on ZedAxis TV. And we are live streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube. And I will be interviewing the one and only media queen, Aldwyn Altony. We're just having a few technical difficulties, as is the way often. But she absolutely, I'm sure we will have the star in place very shortly. And of course, if you're watching live, then do let me know in the comments where you're watching from and where you're based, because that's one of the wonderful things about live streaming and the internet is that we can go global literally from our lounge room and or our home office, wherever we are. And that just makes it so much, it means that we can be sharing the good news, sharing the learnings, the teachings so much more broadly, and be able to connect so much faster and more broadly. So let me know in the comments where you're from, or if you are watching, let me know where you're watching from. And we do have Aldwyn just ready to come on. But just to introduce you to ZedAxis TV, my name is Leah Zalums, and I'm an executive coach and business and sales leader, and I work with passionate women business owners and corporations who are looking to make positive, sustainable change in the world. And we know that change needs to start with us and how we communicate, and what we are focused on is what we are going to produce. So this channel is dedicated to give the opportunity for women in business to have their voice, their message, their brand heard, and to get that message of positive change out and happening. So without further ado, we do have Aldwyn Altony ready to come on. So let me have a look here what I have to do to bring her on. So add to the stream. Ah, my goodness, we're here. Technology works. Oh, Aldwyn, thank you firstly so much for your time today. I know you are rushing from pillar to post as usual. And so today, thank you for joining us. And what we want to do today is really dive into some of your hot tips for business owners around media, around marketing, and also to do a little bit of a deep dive into this woman behind the powerhouse brand, Media Queen. Because we've known each other for some years now. And one of the reasons that I am really excited to be connecting with you here is because you are Mrs. Consistency when it comes to your brand, your message, your passion, your focus, and goodness only knows how you focus on so many things, but you do, and you do it so well. So welcome to ZedAxis TV today.
Thank you so much, Leah. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here. And I must say, you have been very consistent as well over the years. So I'd like to acknowledge you. You know, we keep showing up, and, you know, if you're in business more than 5 years now, you're already ahead of 80% of the population. And if you're in business another 5 years after that, you've beaten another 80% of the population. So even being in business for this long is quite an achievement. So for those watching this, congratulations.
Absolutely.
If you've been in business.
And also on that, Aldwyn, let me just read a little bit of your background to our audience so that they understand who we've got in the room here. And I don't mean to put you on a pedestal, but I think this is so important to set the stage for, for what we're going to talk about. So I won't read the whole thing, but I will just give a little bit of background. So
Sure.
you are known as the media queen, and background for 38 years as a photojournalist, experience in TV, radio, print, online media, and you host the Media Queen TV, inspiring truth and good news on YouTube. And for the last 3 years, you've co-hosted the Tech Webcast podcast. So, let's dig a little bit into that as well today, which has had over 1 million downloads in 8 years. Oh my goodness, that's extraordinary. So you're born in Sydney, but you've been in in Queensland on the Gold Coast since 2000, and your agency is AA Expose Media. Did I say that right?
Yes,
So we
that's correct.
into that, yep, which offers public relations, photography, videography services, and the worldwide mass media mastery training program. Now, that just sounds massive. and it needs to be, doesn't it? So and I think one of the things that stands you out is, again, PR is a very busy industry. There are many PR and media or people that are doing PR and media and marketing. And one of the struggles I know I have as a business owner and as someone with big dreams to make big changes is, who do you trust and who do you charge? Who do you trust? And like, where do you put your attention to get your best bang for your buck? So I guess, where do we go with that? Where would you like to start today? Like,
Thank you, Leah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot covered there. Absolutely. Who to trust is a great question. In fact, not just with publicity, but with all of business, because we know there are a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of particularly online scammers. And since COVID, what we've seen is a proliferation of people who are putting themselves forward as experts and who have online courses. And a lot of people buy online courses and then don't do anything with it. So what I always look for is, I always do a good search on anyone I'm looking to work with for any coaches and mentors. And I've invested $500,000 in my business and personal development since 2005. So I'm a massive believer in education and in investing in yourself, because if you want to fast track your success, as long as you work with credible people with integrity, obviously you will fast track your success when you invest your money, right? People either invest their time or they invest their money. They invest their time to save money, or they invest their money to save time. And so one thing to look for is to look for reviews. Always do a good search of whoever you're looking to work with. Look at their reviews on Google, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. It's important to actually stalk people and to do your research before you work with people nowadays. When it comes to PR, I always recommend, if you're going to work with a PR agent, work with someone who has worked in the industry as a journalist, ideally, because people who've worked as journalists have a sense for news. And if you want to get the free publicity, which means basically a journalist is reporting about you and doing a story for free, as opposed to taking out ads and paying for ads, then it's important to have a sense of what journalists.
That's a really good distinction, Aldwin, just right there, around PR and paying for ads, and then free PR. And you're talking free PR in those mainstream medias, the TV programs like the Sunrises, and like the regular media like outlets. Maybe if you can break those down, because I think we get lost in terminology as well when we haven't come from marketing and we haven't come from the new world of news. So I think that would be helpful for our viewers and our listeners to sort of really understand what is media.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, media is basically a way to get your message to the masses. Basically, it's an outlet to be able to get your message out. So we have, with traditional media, we have TV, we have radio, newspapers, magazines. And in the last 20, 30 years or so since the internet's been around, we now have mass media outlets as well. So we have podcasts, which are just audio, like radio online. And then we have now vodcasts or online TV shows, which is like what we're doing here. right? And I always recommend, if you're going to start your own show, that you actually do a vodcast or do a video like this, a video interview, or do a piece to camera, do a video, because you can extract the audio and you can create content from that, right? But it's very hard to turn audio into a video. So, and video is very, very credible. Coming back to whether we can trust people, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000 words, right? So video is very, very powerful when it comes to trust factor, when it comes to likability, all of that kind of thing. So when it comes to publicity, we are talking about mainstream media and also now the mass media or the online media. We cannot ignore the online media channels anymore, right? We have, you know, as I say, all these online shows now, online podcasts. Now in 2018, there were only 500,000 podcasts. Now, 2022, we have over 2.2 million podcasts. Okay, so this online media world is growing so rapidly. And journalists and people who are running shows are always looking for people to interview. So you can be very strategic with your marketing and line up interviews with people who will actually interview you for free as opposed to paying for advertising. Now, when you're paying for advertising in any media, it's actually worth 3 to 8 times less in value than actual getting stories. So for example, if you are taking out an ad, say a half-page ad in a local magazine, generally you're looking at about $2,000. Wherever you are in the world, it's about $2,000 for a half-page ad. So a half-page story where a journalist actually interviews you and writes a story about you is third-party credibility. And that is worth, say, 3 to 8 times more. There's many different sources online. So I usually say times 5 for the value. So say worth about $10,000 for that half-page story. Also, you've got 22 times more people looking at stories versus looking at ads. And if you think about how you consume the media, when you're watching TV and an ad comes on, what do you do? Or if you're listening to radio and ads come on, what do you do? Generally, we switch channels,
don't you? Yeah.
Right. We go to the bathroom, we might make a cup of tea, you know, we switch off. And yet people are putting thousands and thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars into advertising that is not getting the cut through. And even with digital advertising now, even with Facebook ads and Instagram ads and YouTube ads, they're not getting the same kind of cut through that you will get with your organic traffic. Right. And always those ads say sponsored above it. You can tell it's a paid ad. Right. And generally speaking, you are wasting money. You are throwing money down the drain when you are paying for ads. And I've done it myself. I've invested. I've tried it out. I've done a bit of test and measure just to see, you know, how, when I've tried a few different forms of advertising myself, just to give it a go. And generally speaking, there's nothing like free publicity to get the cut through and to build that influence and credibility so that you're known as the expert. And when you're known as the expert in the media and you're out there as the expert, you can charge more for what you do. You'll then have more freedom. You'll be able to grow the team, set up systems, etc. And you as you build your fame, you'll build your fortune. You'll be able to charge more, get more leverage, fame, freedom. You'll build your money and you'll be able to leave a legacy. Okay, so it's a beautiful thing that happens when you start to put yourself out there. But of course, the number one thing that stops people is fear. A lot of people have fear of being seen, being heard, and being known. And this is where I work with a lot of clients to actually just get over themselves. If you know 10% more than someone else, you can teach it. You don't have to know everything about your topic, and people are going to be drawn to you anyway. People want to work with people that they know, like, and trust, even more so now. And people will do their due diligence. They are going to Google you. So what is your online presence like? It's really important to actually Google yourself, or if you want an alternative opinion, then go to DuckDuckGo is another search engine that's not censored. DuckDuckGo is another one. Right?
How do you spell that? Is that literally duck?
Duck, D-U-C-K, and then D-U-C-K, and then go. DuckDuckGo. If you go there, you can also get some other searches, or Bing or Yahoo, you know, use some different search engines to search yourself and see what comes up. And just consider, if you were to work with someone in your industry, would you work with yourself? If you Googled yourself and saw what you saw right now, are you someone that you would want to work with if you were your client? Very important to get that consistent. So if you do have a brand name like Media Queen, I have Media Queen, I'm known for. Aldwyn Alternate is a very difficult name for a lot of people to say.
It's very exotic. So I'd love to hear some background about that, but I don't want to change. I don't want to ruin your flow.
It is exotic, absolutely a very exotic name, and there is a history to it and a story to it. However, with branding, it's important to have very simple name. So Media Queen is a very simple name that sums up what I do. Think of the Reno Kings. They were very well known in the renovation field. We've got things like Wizard of Words. We've got Empowered Survivor. 2 or 3 words that summarize what you do. Think of a brand name and then trademark that. Make sure no one else has got that brand name, and trademark it if you are set with it, and then put yourself out there as that person. And that will definitely help you stand out, having a strong brand name. I have a cartoon that goes with my brand that a lot of people would have seen online, my Media Queen graphics that I do on social media. Constantly, we've been putting out Media Queen for the last 7 years or so. So it's consistently out there, and I'm now known for that. So having a strong brand and having that consistent messaging across the board is really important with your online presence.
Now, with that, Alwyn, I think that's one of the big switches. If we see what are the big points of change in how business gets done, like in the old days when I was in corporate sales, with the big tech companies, we would have like a PR agency that would be like on a retainer, whose job it was to keep like positive news about that company in all the media outlets. And so that was really prior to internet days. And the internet has really blown open, as you say, that we have to get a consciousness about mass media. And that's something that you really helped me with, because I was really of the old school too, and relying very much on personal connection, referrals. It's kind of like the and email and that sort of the personal referral business. So now the idea of growing like a brand online and growing an audience, growing a following, all of that. Even though I'm quite confident as a specialist in my field, there is fear, and it's not fear that I'm no good. I know I'm damn good, right? And as you do, right? But I'm curious, were you ever fearful, like the journey into journalism? Like journalists have to be really brave. Like I just like. Whatever field they're in, there's a bravery, but there's also an innate passion that's driving them over their fear. But I'm curious to kind of dig into that a little bit, because I think it's that fear that actually even stops people from reaching out to yourself, to even inquire as to what's possible, because it just seems too far away from who they are today. So I'm just kind of curious about your journey, because I know in your work you do a lot of work to kind of like probably drum the fear out of people, and supporting them along the way. But curious to dig in a little bit more than that, because I think we all understand that we got to get better at social media. We can't ignore it. That social proof, if you say, like there was a LinkedIn poll recently where there was a list of different things. What did we think was the biggest influencer in who we chose as a consultant or a company to work with? Social presence, like social proof, by far. Social proof, and another poll that showed, would you work with someone who was successful or unsuccessful? And I thought, oh gee, that's a bit inane. But you know what, it was like 95% said successful. So how do we know someone knows their stuff? Well, the social proof is absolutely key.
Yes.
And coming back to your fear, and I guess your journey of kind of what brought you into journalism and into this world of voice. Like that's kind of what I see, is amplifying people's voices, their brands, their messages, to make sure the right people hear them. When did that stir in you, as a core driver?
Great question. Well, everything we've done has brought us to this point where we are now, right? Whoever's watching this, it's all perfect up till now. Now, most people are born courageous. Most people are born, if you look at kids, look at toddlers, you know, they're out there, they're ready to take on the world, they're excited about life. And then what happens? We get shut down through life often, right? This is how we're educated. This is the education system, is basically teaching people to do as they're told, to do their 9-to-5 jobs, you know, pay their taxes, retire, you know, end up on super if you're lucky. You know, this is the kind of enslavery system that we live in, right? And so to rise above that takes something. It takes something. And I must say, growing up, I was, as a first generation Australian, born in Sydney. I have Greek, Turkish, Ukrainian background. I was bullied as a kid. I never felt I belonged. I never felt seen or heard growing up. And this happens to a lot of people. A lot of people get bullied as kids, right? Kids can be very cruel. And then I saw things like animal cruelty. I saw a lot of animal cruelty growing up. I was watching the news every night with my dad. My dad wouldn't just watch one channel of news. He'd be watching multiple channels. So it'd be 2 hours of negative news, mostly negative news every night. And one night I remember being so upset by what I saw. I was literally in tears. I went to my dad. I said, why is the world so cruel? Why are people like this? And he hugged me and he said, darling, this is just how the world is. And so for years, I grew up thinking that the world was really nasty and people were really evil. And I actually didn't want to be here for a long time. And my dad said, anger is danger. And what happened is I internalized my anger for many years, which actually led to depression. And depression is a very, very common thing. In fact, there's 1 in 5 people we know of in Australia that have depression. And I would say it's more like 1 in 3 that are out there. So a lot of people have depression, and that could be anger turned inwards, but it's also what it is for a lot of people is just not living their passions. I think the more we love what we do, the more in flow we are with what we do, then the more on purpose we are, and the more that we lift our own energy and lift the energy of those around us. So watching this negative news growing up and internalizing my anger was not a great start to things, although I had really beautiful, loving parents, and we get along famously now, you know, not an issue now, although for many years I did rebel. I never felt I belonged. And then growing up in the northern suburbs area of Sydney, I was very rebellious. In fact, I got kicked out of home at 15, very strong European parents. And I basically did the opposite of everything Dad said from about the age of 13 to 15. And if I was him, I probably would have kicked me out of the house too. However, that was one of the best things he could have done, because sometimes we think the grass is greener on the other side. And I moved into a household in Sydney with a guy who was a drummer. His mum was an alcoholic. His sister was dealing drugs. It was a very chaotic environment. I actually went from ducks of my primary school in North Balgowlah to failing everything in year 11 at Mossman High School. And then 6 months into that situation, there came a turning point. Like most people here will have turning points in their life, right? There was a turning point. The turning point was that I saw my boyfriend sleep with my best friend in front of me. And I remember the Pretenders song was playing on the record player, Don't Get Me Wrong. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. That was playing on the turntable at the time. And I was so upset by that. I ended up, after a lot of tears and, you know, running around the block a few times and getting my frustration out, I called my mum in tears. I said, I can't handle this anymore. And she said, come home, which I did. Thankfully, they let me back home. And I then changed schools. I changed my environment in year 12, and I went to Forest High School in the Northern Beaches area of Sydney and worked my butt off. My brother helped me with my studies, and I got into a media degree at the University of Canberra from there. And then while I was there was a job going.
Why media? What drove you to media?
Well, you know what? Out of all the subjects that were on offer at university, the only thing that drew my attention was media. I looked at all the other options. I thought media, and what I liked about media is that they had a bit of film, they had photography, they had radio, it was all the creative arts. And I'd always been a creative child. I always loved the creative arts. I was a great artist. I was doing poetry as a release growing up. So, you know, I loved anything creative. And I thought by the end of the media degree, I'll know what I want to do, right? Because it had a whole lot of options within it, and it was creative. So that's
what a gift that you were drawn to something and you went there. Because we see so many kids don't know what to choose.
Yes.
They don't know what to choose because either nothing's speaking to them or they're being told what they're supposed to do or supposed to chase. Yes. You know, so I think that's what I'm hearing is you were very tuned in.
Right, I was, interestingly,
what was important to you.
Yeah, interestingly too, my dad introduced me to table tennis at 8 years of age, and I used to beat the hell out of the ball. I used to have this killer forehand smash. That's one way I released my anger. So at age 10, I actually had my first media interview. So the Manly Daily actually came to our place in North Bargalla, and I remember the photographer getting up on a ladder, taking a photo of me at the table, and then the journalist came. And so my intro to the media came at age.
A star is born right there.
It happened at age, yeah.
Got you.
That's where my curiosity started. And then at age 11, I was on Cartoon Connection. I was in front of 2 million people on Channel 7. And then I had my first media training age 11. I did my first radio show at age 13. So there was some dabbles in the media before I did the media degree, where I already had an interest in the creative field with that. However, the media degree itself just had so many different components. I thought this looks like a fun thing to do, and I think fun is a great thing to look for in life. Joy is actually one of the highest vibrations we will feel as human beings. If you look at David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, in fact, I have it right here. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness.
Where does that feature in our year 12 education?
Yes. So, people coming from two places in life, it's either love or fear. We can see these arrows. So what this shows, Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness, we vibrate at different frequencies. We are 99.9% energy frequency vibration. And when we get into joy and gratitude, we're actually vibrating at 540 hertz. Love is 528, peace is 600, enlightenment is 700 plus. They're the highest vibrations. Right now, a lot of the world is stuck down here in fear. And there's no coincidence of that, because, divide and rule, fear is one of the oldest tricks in the book by the government to be able to control the masses, right, is fear. And fear and shame and guilt are two of the lowest vibrations also we will feel as human beings. So the more we can empower ourselves by doing things we love and by having an environment that supports us in what we're doing and being on purpose and passion, no matter what is happening out in the world. We know there's been a lot of craziness since COVID and a lot that we can't control in the world. We can control how we show up and how we do life. And getting into joy, doing what you love, if money wasn't an issue, you would still do that thing. I think that's a great place to look. So then at University of Canberra, I then went for a job as editor of the university newspaper. I actually went for this job 3 times before I got it. I then became the longest serving editor of that university newspaper. We had 30 contributors. We put out a publication every 2 weeks, 24 to 48 page publication. I love that. And then I ended up working in the media and TV, radio and print for the next 20 years or so in Brisbane, Mackay, Coffs Harbour, Toowoomba, Ipswich, Gold Coast. Now I've lived on the Gold Coast for 22 years.
What's your favorite outlet? Like, if you had to pick one.
I'd say TV, definitely, or doing interviews like this, whether it's traditional TV or online TV, I think is definitely my favorite, because it's really the best way to connect with people is through video and through, people inviting us into their homes. This really is the new TV, is online TV. 80% of people are accessing now videos from their mobile devices, so
80%.
online TV is the way of the future. This is the new TV of the future, is a lot of people are viewing on their devices. And I love the power of video, because every video you put out, like any media coverage, is like leaving a legacy. You're leaving a legacy with every video. However, if you picture that this was just audio, it's not as powerful as being able to see our faces and being able to connect like you do with video. You actually feel like you're in a room with someone with video, with online TV. So that is definitely my favorite outlet, although those that say they have a face for radio, maybe podcasting.
Yeah, because it is video is the closest thing to having a real life conversation, isn't it? And I think
yes,
that's one thing that COVID has really skyrocketed everybody to have, like, who doesn't know how to use Zoom now, or Facebook Live, or to connect through video, because it's more powerful than just a phone call. But the other thing too, Aldwin, you might want to speak to this as well, is that once you create a content piece, like we'll have an hour of content here, and then both you and I will be able to repurpose elements of insights and pieces that, or explore more on ideas of where it might go next, and create the written blogs and create newsletters. Because I know, like, for instance, on LinkedIn, there's a plethora of people producing written newsletters, right? Because text is still on LinkedIn, like text posts still, do really, really well, as opposed to, say, video that was originally coming from, all the algorithm business, right? So, but I think this is what's powerful, is that with video, we get the immediate live experience, and we also then have a recording that people can have on replay, and then we can then pull like the audio and pull blogs, create blogs and create written material for websites, for story ideas, for lots of things. So I think the concept of content creation, and this is also, I think, a stumbling block for a lot of business owners, a lot of coaches, consultants, particularly women coming out of executive careers where a lot of that was done for them. They had the marketing department, they had all these support around them. And now that when we go out, and I'm one of those coming out of corporate and now building my own business. And so learning how to do all that. And I think this is also where a lot of your work does go into how you actually craft your message so it is newsworthy, so it does get their attention, so that it's, as much as I don't like the word pitch, it's kind of like the word, isn't it? So it's pitched right, it's presented right, to be able to catch the eye and the need of that journalist that's making a decision on your story or somebody else's story. Or indeed anybody, on clients that are making decisions on you as a service provider versus the plethora of, it's so much about standing out for the right reasons, isn't it? And getting the right help to do that, because, content creation, you've got so many, people promising to write content for people as well, and so it can get into a information overload, or infobesity, as the term has been phrased. And and I guess that's also a consequence of like so many business owners like becoming content creators as well. I mean, we are creating content right here. So I guess, how do you choose what you talk about and what you promote, or who you support? Because you must have like the plethora of people just banging on your door and, wanting to work with you. I'm curious sort of how you channel that, from a self-management point of view, and also from continuing to build your brand.
Yes, great question. Well, I am all about inspiring truth and good news, Leah, and there's several reasons for that. Growing up with all that negative news, it affected my psyche. And this is the thing, if you consistently watch negative news, which a lot of mainstream media is negative, let's face it, with what we initially see on the news, there is a lot of positive media and a lot of different media out there now with alternative views. And in fact, all the major media outlets, nearly all of them have a good news section on their website, or they'll cover some good news, but it might be just, 1 to 5% of the news, so actually consciously putting out more positive news, and any negative can be turned into a positive. Consciously putting out more positive news is something I'm really passionate about. Not only have I had depression, I've had 4 friends take their own lives by the age of 45. Now, the stats are worldwide, about 1 million people a year worldwide take their own lives, and that has gone up 4 times. That has increased during COVID. Okay, so we've got a lot more people killing themselves than are actually dying of COVID, right? So now more than ever, it's important to put out more positive news to help lift the consciousness on the planet and lift the energy on the planet. And that's something that everything I promote has to in some way be in line with that, right? Be in line with truth or good news. And so for people that are considering what is it that they're going to promote, start with, what do you stand for? What do you stand for in life? What is it? And what is your product, service, message that can impact the world in a positive way? Now, if you pitch something that is too commercial to a journalist, they are going to say, go take out an ad and pay thousands of dollars. So how you then put that together is really crucial.
You mean if you are wanting to pitch your course that you've just written, or like a training program, and like if there's it's obviously a product pitch, as opposed to, if it's not a product pitch, what is it then? Is it?
Yeah, we need to look for the story behind what it is you're promoting, okay? Because if you're charging for that course, it's going to be seen as commercial. So then we look behind that, okay? How does your course help people, or how does your story help people? How have you overcome hardship with your personal story? There's several ways you can look at it, but journalists are looking for what is newsworthy, and newsworthy has the term new in it. So what is new, interesting, unique about either something you're doing or about your personal story? And your X factor is your personal story, right? No one else has your story. And most people are very hard on themselves, right? Most people have some underlying story that they're not good enough, they don't belong, these kind of underlying stories, right? Who would
Well,
listen to
the one
them?
I hear about too, old one, is that they don't have enough drama. They're not interesting enough. Like, they're too
Right.
boring. They're too vanilla. They're too beige. It's like, who would want to know about me? And oh my goodness, how sad is that? Isn't that sad? Like,
Yeah, and people
because
just
if we don't believe we're news, and that's step one, isn't it? Like, I would imagine that a lot of your work is even having that conversation. You are newsworthy, right?
Exactly.
And we're going to find that gem, that dime, that star, right? That's
exactly.
Where's your wand? Where's your wand, Albert?
Yeah, I've got the one right here. And in fact, I have a media magic formula that I'd love to cover with you. But that's exactly right. People think, oh, who am I for people to listen to me? Well, as I said, if you know 10% more than someone else, you can teach it. And often we're too close to our story to see what the gems of our story are. And that's where working with an expert is a great thing to do if you want to fast track your success here. Because if you pitch to a journalist in the wrong manner, you are going to burn bridges, and you are going to lose opportunities that could be worth thousands of dollars. And you just don't know who's going to be seeing that media that you put out. You don't know. We can't quantify that. We can say, well, Women's Weekly goes out to 2 million people. We could say things like that, but we don't know for sure who is going to see your story that you're going to impact, or who might buy your programs or come to your website, or, it is a great lead generator. However, also it is something that it's important to be patient with your marketing journey. Okay. Free publicity is just one part of your marketing journey, right? There's things like networking, there's, servicing your clients, well, all those sort of things. It's important to have a multifaceted approach to marketing. Free publicity, though, is something that is highly underutilized because a lot of people don't understand it. They don't know how it works. And this is where I show people in my free publicity secrets masterclass exactly how to pitch to journalists. So my Magic Media One formula, it actually stands for awesome. I have an acronym called awesome, which I will cover with you 7 steps to getting free publicity. Just very briefly, I do a whole 4-hour masterclass on this, which we don't have time for today, but it starts with the A is about your story, articulating your story, right? So the A of the awesome, articulate your story. Get very clear. What is it you want to promote? What product, what service, what message right now is the most important for you? And if you think of Pareto's principle, think of the 80-20 rule, think of where is 20% of your energy going into, which will bring 80% of the results. And for a lot of people, they want more income. So if you want more income, what is that 20% of effort you're putting in that's bringing you the 80% of results financially? Then let's look at how we can package that up and get that out, whether it's a product, a service, a message, whatever that is, right? Then we want to look at articulating your story behind that. What is your story behind that? Why are you in business? Why are you passionate about what you're doing? Why do you want to get this out?
That why piece is not so easy for a lot of people. Do you find that?
A lot of people get stuck there. Yeah.
We often just are so lost in this general statement. I just want to help people, we're so big in our intent because we feel it, but we don't quite have the words. And if we don't find the words and put them together properly, no one's going to understand us, even with all of our good intent. Do you find that?
Yes. People do get stuck on the why, and they get stuck on the how. They get, and that's the thing is that, start with the why. And a good place to look at with the why is that you will be naturally drawn to things, and you will be naturally angered or upset by things that you see in the world. Okay, that's a good place to look. What angers you or what upsets you about what's going on in the world right now? Or there could be a cause that you are drawn to, whether it's child abuse or whatever it is, ending domestic violence, or animal, helping the animals, whatever it is. There will be something that you are drawn to or passionate about unless you're fully depressed, in which case you may need some help clinically, right? We're not here as psychologists. Although if you're in a really low state, you might want to get some help for that. And there's always help out there, and you're not alone if you're feeling that right now. A lot of people do feel at times very depressed, and particularly with what's going on in the world. And this is where it's important to do the work that needs to be done to lift your energy and your consciousness above what's going on in the world right now, right? The light workers, the people that are rising above this and are seeing through the rubbish, because there is a lot of rubbish going on right now. There's a lot of hidden agendas. And I can tell you as a journalist, I have seen the hidden agendas behind the scenes. And if you really want to know what's going on, follow the money trail. So considering that this is like the game of life, right? It's like a game of life that's going on, and you are the hero in your journey, right? So you do have a great story to share. And look at where, what is it that moves you, that saddens you, that upsets you in some way? What is it that gives you joy? What is it that when you're doing that thing that you absolutely love it and time flies and you're in flow? I do believe life was meant to be easy. I think a lot of people have conditions.
I do too. And I believe joy is our birthright too. And this is a big point of difference, I find, with people that have got really deep ingrained beliefs that somehow we're here to suffer, or that we need to earn joy somehow, but I guess there is so much in our environment, and people are struggling to keep lights on, right? There's real things that do make it hard for a lot of people to feel the joy and honor themselves to feel joy in spite of all that. But that's why I'm so grateful there are so many healers and, intuitives and people that are really like bringing their craft to the masses, because we need that. Because the cognitive stuff, it's hard to just like meet cognitive with cognitive sometimes. We need to be shaken up in different ways.
Yes, and we are incredibly powerful. In fact, just by being born, you've beaten about 1 billion swimmers to get to the finish line. So I say you're about 1 in 1 billion just by being born, okay, depending how excited your parents were at the time. However, generally speaking, there's a reason you're here, and there's a reason you're here at this time. We have a massive shift going on in the world right now. We have had a corrupt world for a long time. You just look at the banking system, right? Look, watch the Thrive documentaries. There is so much research out there around what is actually going on in the world right now. It's very, very interesting. There's a reason there's millions of people gathering in Canberra right now, for example, in Australia, who are rallying for our freedoms. And, for years on end, we're actually the biggest deaths that have happened in all of history have come from governments. Look that one up too. The governments have killed more people than anything else in the history of the planet. Very, very interesting time. So do your own research, question everything, particularly when it comes to mainstream media, right? And if you see the one message being bombarded again and again and again, question it. Absolutely question it. Do your own research, right?
And it is our birthright. We are born with that desire for choice and the human need for autonomy and connection. So we expect to connect. Governments are supposed to be there to support and protect. So there's a lot of there's a lot of confusion, Aldwyn. There's so much confusion, and understandably so.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's important to do your own research. And, there's a lot of alternative media like BitChute, Rumble, Brand New Tube. These are alternatives to places like YouTube and Facebook, which are censoring information. We've seen fact checkers come out of the woodwork. I've had things censored that I've shot at my actual property, on my property, talking about the dangers of 5G. They got taken off YouTube. I also did a video about the dangers of mask wearing. That got taken down. So now they're both up on BitChute. They're up on my BitChute channel, right? So my question is, if there's nothing to hide, why is there so much censorship of information? If there's nothing to hide, right? So very, very interesting times we're in. in saying that, there's still massive opportunity when it comes to getting your message out, because we have so many mass media outlets now. You don't need to be in thousands of outlets, although there are literally millions of outlets out there. It's about being strategic with your marketing and focusing on the media where your ideal clients, if you're in business, where your ideal clients are consuming that media. You know, that could
And
be—
is that something that you help people with as well as part of your mass media training?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's enough.
Yes.
The overwhelm of where do I go? Where do I put my energy? So with overwhelm, as we know, then there's the procrastinate, the fear takes over and people do nothing.
Yes, exactly.
So coming back to the 7 steps.
Yes, so back to the awesome steps.
Yes.
Yes, so the A is about articulating your story, getting clear on what you want to promote, product, service, message, and packaging that up, getting clear on what is your story behind that. The next thing, the W, is about working the angles. And we see journalists at different times of year have different angles that they're looking for at different times of year, such as we have International Women's Day coming up. We just had Valentine's Day, back to school, end of financial year, Small Business Week, Mental Health Week, World Animal Week
as well. Women's Week, I think, is
Women's
the
Week.
14th of March.
Yes, exactly. Women's Week coming up. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Are You OK Day. There's so many different times of year, Christmas, Anzac Day, etc. That's just one of 9 angles that I talk about in my masterclass. So look for an angle to then package up. So we'll look for what is your product, service, your story. What is an angle that we can pitch to the media? That's the W, is working the angles. The E is about elevating your profile. Because once you pitch to the media, they are going to be Googling you. I can tell you the journalist is going to be searching your name, and they're going to see what they find to see if you really are an expert. And particularly if you have video content out there, they're going to see if you make good talent for TV, right? How you come across in your video interviews online is really, really crucial.
And I'm sure they do that for job interviews as well. So why would you pull someone in for a job interview if you can Google them first, see what they're about? You're going to see whether they're a fit or not. And I think that's another reason you want stuff about you out there, so that you don't go into these interviews and waste time.
Exactly. So elevating a profile also is about how you then package up what you're going to give to the media. So I always recommend do a press release. You can get publicity without a press release, but you increase the chances of a journalist getting the facts wrong. They are incredibly busy people. Having worked as a journalist, sometimes they get 500 press releases a day, and a lot of them end up in the bin. Okay, a lot of them end up trash because they're not relevant or they're too release.
Like when you write it, do you send it out to like media outlets, or do you post it on your Facebook wall, or what do you do with the press release?
Yes, and that's the next step, is startle the media, right? The S, so the OR is about articulate your story, work the angles, elevate your profiles, how you package it up. S is about
I love your model.
S is about startling the media. So how do you startle the media, get their attention? Now, the more visual you can make what you do, the better. Okay, because the media don't just want to educate, they want to entertain as well, right? And this is where we see, over the years.
Edutainment. Yeah.
Yes, edutainment, exactly. And look at, Steve Irwin was hugely popular, Dame Edna Everage, these are out there characters, right? Crocodile Dundee, etc. The media love entertaining stories. So then how you pitch that is really important. So when you do a press release, you can put it on, there's many online sites you can put on your own website, you can email it out to media outlets, and there is a specific way, which I don't have a lot of time to go into that right now, but basically speaking, if you are picking up the phone and calling a journalist, you have 45 seconds to get your pitch across. So you need to be snappy, you need to be to the point. There's certain times of day that are better to pitch your story to a journalist because they're very busy people. By the afternoon, most of them are on deadline. They're flat out. They do not want to be hearing your pitch in the afternoon. And in fact, for a lot of journalists, PR people in general can be very annoying because they just want to get their stories done. However, if you do the right thing by the journalist, you're actually helping them with their story because they have to do a certain number of stories a day. If they haven't got enough stories for the day and you pitch a great story to them, they're going to love you. And in fact, they'll come back to you looking for more story ideas. So if you do this right, you will be able to then magnify that, and you'll be able to be like a magnet for media, and media feeds off media. You'll get more media. And once the journalist knows you, they'll come back to you looking for your expert status. So startling the media.
They're competitive too, aren't they? Like they're competing for eyeballs on their stuff. So they want stuff that startles. Yeah.
Exactly. And never underestimate the power of local media too. Local media always looking for local people. And in fact, as a local journalist for many years doing regional newspapers, etc., we would often get calls from major TV outlets looking for phone numbers for people that we'd interviewed because they love the stories that we wrote. So media always scouring other media. It doesn't matter how big or small that media is. Even getting in your local paper, you're reaching hundreds of thousands of people, right? Or local community radio, which are always looking for great people to interview. So S is Startle the media. So we've got awesome steps. O is about owning your power. Okay, now owning your power is crucial, right? Absolutely crucial, because I can give you every strategy in the world on how to get publicity. If you don't believe in yourself, if you are not fully in line with your purpose, your vision, your passion for what you want to shift in the world, then you will have a lot of challenges, because what's going to happen, the more you put yourself out there, the more people are going to love you and the more people are going to hate you. Okay, you're going to have your challenges.
Look at Grace Tame and Brittany Higgins,
Yes.
and it's like, what fabulous role models in standing in your shoes no matter what comes at them.
Yes.
And man, are they leading the way or what, in terms of how we hold ourselves in that? It's a war. It's a war that erupts, right? When you've got hot topics where there is lots at stake, major, government policy and strategy and behavior. I mean, so you've got to own your power, and we each have to own our power. There's not one, like those women are no more important in that way of owning our power than you and I, just because we're not on that particular stage. And I think that's a piece, a gap I see in a lot of women, is not owning the skin they're in and truly honoring that power, as you say, that each of us are equal. We are totally equal in our right to have that and own that. And I think that's something that you just floods out of you, Aldwyn. So thank you for being that beacon for us all.
Thank you. Well, it's a law of oneness. We are one of the whole. We are so similar in so many ways. You break us all down, we are 99.9 and another 8 nines, all energy, frequency, vibration. We are incredibly powerful. We don't see it. A lot of people don't get it. However, this is where doing the inner work, doing what's required to build your confidence in yourself and your courage, and to be true to yourself, like Donald Trump. Whatever you think of Donald Trump, he's a man that's true to himself, right? Whatever you think of him, and same with a lot of big celebrities. The celebrities that make it, that stay there as celebrities and they don't drop off the bandwagon, they're the ones that have been able to withstand all the gossip and all the knockbacks and all the, because there's a lot of crap that people are going to say about you anyway, right? Whether you've got a profile or whether you don't have a profile, you're just going to find more of it. More you build your profile, you're going to get the lovers, you're going to get the haters. So this is where
Tall poppy is alive and well in Australia. It is totally alive and well.
Yeah, the tall poppy syndrome, exactly. And it's about time we shattered that glass ceiling and that we rose above it. And I do believe the divine feminine right now is rising. I do believe that. I think there's, we're seeing a lot of evidence of that now. And the only way forward as a society, as human beings, for us to survive what's going on right now and even to thrive through it, is actually to honor our femininity and bring that loving energy back to what's going on. Because the fact is that hurt people, right? Hurt people. Unfortunately, we have a lot of psychopaths and sociopaths running the world right now. So it's going to take something for the divine feminine energy to rise and to actually cut through that, right? To cut through that and to be that beacon of light, to light up those around us. And it's proven too that one enlightened heart, one enlightened conscious being will wake up 5,000 others. So we don't need everyone to wake up right now. It's the mass consciousness on the planet that is shifting. And there's definitely movement at stake, and things have been really out of whack for a long time. So it's perfect, I believe, that COVID has happened, because this is really, bringing some order back to where there's actually been a lot of disorder for a long time, and now people are starting to wake
disruption to recreate.
Exactly.
But I think that also speaks to that sense of calling, and not everybody has a sense of calling, but if you do, it's vital that you follow that calling so you can be that one to light up the 5,000, right? Isn't it? Because if we don't honor that and follow that and put our energy there, we are doing the world a disservice. And I think that's kind of getting again, it comes back to what are we believing, between our 2 ears. Yeah. So onto the M and the E. I'm just conscious of time as well.
Yeah. So
what
Well,
you've
back
got
on that,
coming up
just
next too.
quickly on that O point, it's scientifically proven too, we have the DNA of 7 generations. Now, my great-grandparents were kulaks in the Ukraine. They actually got killed by Stalin's men when it turned communist. And then their son, my granddad, ran away from the government in fear of losing his life for speaking up against the government. He ran away to Turkey and met my dad's mum was Greek, right? Hence the Greek-Turkish
My father was in that boat from Estonia. He had to leave Estonia for exactly the same reason.
Right. So let's bear a thought for our ancestors right now. We have scientifically proven the DNA of 7 generations, and your ancestors are there with you in spirit. They're here. I've got goosebumps right now. I know my ancestors are here, just like your ancestors are here. And I believe it's our duty to be the voice, to stand up, to stand up and speak up where perhaps our ancestors weren't able to for whatever conditions, right? Now we have a great opportunity with the world of the mass media to actually speak up and stand up for what we believe in. So I do recommend, if you're a bit stuck on what is your purpose or your vision, or, have some time out, have some quiet time. Meditation is really powerful. Slow down to speed up, they say, right? So have a bit of quiet time. There's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of people do all sorts of hypnotherapy and all sorts of different treatments that can help you go through your subconscious and work out what it is that you're here for, right? That's really a personal journey. But I do believe you're here for a reason, and you're watching this right now for a reason, okay? If you don't know what that is, that's okay. Just start to dig in, and there's nothing wrong, right? First thing is actually just you're at where you're at. Everything's brought you to this point, and now what do you want to create for your future? Your future doesn't have to be necessarily like things are right now or like they were in the past. Right? So starting from a blank canvas, how do you want your future to look? So the M of the awesome steps, once you own your power, whatever that takes for you, the M is about mastering interviews. There's certain things to do before, during, and after interviews to make the most of those interviews. Okay. And ideally have at least 3 points of front of mind that you want to get across in every interview, depending how long you have for that interview. Most TV, radio interviews, you've got about 3-5 minutes. If it's a news story, you might just have 1 minute, right? So you need to be very succinct with what you say and how you get your message across. So mastering interviews is the M, and then E is about exploding your impact. Once you get that publicity, how do you then make the most of that? So E is for explode impact. So that's the awesome steps covered very quickly. I do have a whole 4-hour masterclass. We go into great detail on this topic, and I don't care who you are. If you're a human being on the planet, you've already beaten 1 billion swimmers to get to the finish line. You will have a story to share. We've all had our ups and downs in life. Life is like a roller coaster ride, right? And a good place to look is, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had in your life, and how have you overcome them? There's a reason that we attract the challenges that we do, and there's a reason that we come through, that those that do come through, and there's usually a great story right there on how you've overcome your challenges and why you're doing what you're doing right now.
There surely is, and the challenges keep coming. They keep coming, don't they? But that's why it's so that the process of reflection and honoring your time and space to do that. And I know in the executive world, in the corporate world, that's one of the things that is holding back, that is causing leadership to not be good, because they don't create time to reflect and to truly collaborate and to truly hold different perspectives, to listen and hold and allow space, allow things to evolve. And I think this is that push-pull that I'm hearing from you as well. It's allowing evolution, but allow yourself to be helped as well, is what I'm hearing. Because that's like, to take yourself, I'm sure you could give the awesome model to your clients, and they can bumble their way and get maybe 5% of the value. But the true value in the journey is when you have that expert guide and the love of that expert guide, and that comes through in spades with you as well, Olgwen. So we're at the top of the hour almost, and I there's just so much ground we have covered here. I truly value our time here today, and I would love to hear, how do people best connect with you, and what have you got coming up next that people can learn more and participate more in your work as the media queen?
Thank you so much, Leah. Well, there's several ways I work with people. I have some free events most months. We have also some masterclasses we do, and then I have the Mass Media Mastery Program. And for people that just want their PR done for them, we actually guarantee results. I don't know any other PR company that guarantees results with PR, so that's another thing to look out for when you're looking for people to work with. So we have the Global Good News Challenge that happens every month. That's absolutely free, where you can share gratitude and good news in a Facebook Live. And I'll put my Linktree link here, which has all these links on there.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We also have the Mass Media Tribe event, which you're speaking at our next one, which I can't wait, coming up in March. So yes, 4th of March, Mass Media Tribe is the link there. So I'll just pop that in the private chat if you could share that one into the comments. That's the link tree, which has got all my links. Then we have masterclasses on free publicity, on how to get free publicity, 4-hour masterclass online called Free Publicity Secrets. Masterclass. Also freePRsecrets.com will also get you to there, which is linked in the link tree there. And we have a social media masterclass also that you can come along to, where we cover how to market on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube. So that's a very intensive 4 hours as well. The Mass Media Mastery Programs for people that want to work closer with me, that actually want more support, that don't just want to, buy an online program and have it sit there. You actually want that support. So with the Mass Media Mastery Program, we have an Ignite program and an Illuminate program, where I'll work with people, we interview people. There's a whole lot included that is all up on my website. So is it like
different levels that you can buy into, depending on the investment and the amount of support?
Exactly, depending how much support you want. And basically that's a program where I work with people until they get publicity. It's guaranteed publicity. And then there's the Media Star packages, which I don't promote generally publicly, but that's for people, that's by application, and I chat with people about that, about the people that we actually do PR for them, where we'll actually market them, we'll line up the interviews, we'll do the media training, all of that. And we have monthly Zoom calls that we do with our clients. So we're in touch with the clients quite closely. It's not where you just buy a course and it sits on the shelf. We actually have quite a few touch points where people can reach us and we can support them in this media journey, because I know it can be scary, and having the right support is really important. And way too many people I see, they just buy courses and they don't do anything with it. They get too busy, they never look at the course again, and they're just wasting money. So when you are looking to invest in something, make sure that you get that support, where that you can actually run something by the people, you have access to the people that are running the course, not just to the course itself with no further support. That's a big thing I think people are looking for now, particularly with so many courses coming about in the last few years since COVID, right? So really look for that. So that's really the ways people can work together. And
I think you're such a great example of how you put yourself out there. Like, you are constantly running opportunities for people to hear from you, learn about you, and provide free value, this value up front that people can have actionable things they can do straight away. And this is important as well, because this is that whole familiarity journey that we go on, isn't it? That this is how we learn about what is available to us and the power of what the media can do and what we can be taking charge of ourselves as well. And so it's just been action-packed today, and you've got so much that goes on and is coming up, and I'm really looking forward to our session on the 4th of March as well. And certainly, if there is anyone watching, or if you've got other women in business, Oldwin, who you feel have got that message that they would like to share on ZedAxis TV, then it'd be my honor to interview them and give them a platform to actually share their story and dig in to the person behind the story and the why behind the story, and certainly how you've pieced together the challenging parts of your history, and just how you've turn that into a positive. I think that's a real gem, because too often we can get so stuck in the negative, and then when we try to be positive, we're not sincere. It's like then it becomes Pollyanna positive, but this is not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Pollyanna positive and ignoring the real challenges, but we're actually talking about strategies and tools and ways that we can work through those challenges to find the reason why behind, and what we can do with that to help ourselves and help others who also have found themselves in those challenges as well. And because I think, and this is where the personal brand, I know we haven't really done, you can't dig into everything in an hour, but we are in the era of the personal brand is the message I'm taking from you. And if we don't create a compelling brand for ourselves and get out and speak our voice, we can't change anything if we don't speak our voice. And it's through speaking we even find our voice. So we've got to master that fear that you talked about. And whether you're introverted, extrovert, we've got all flavors are welcome, but we've all got to learn to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah. And most people speak on a day-to-day basis with other people. So it's just having that courage to actually speak out and to get onto some of these mass media channels where you can actually impact the masses. You can impact the hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people sometimes, by sharing your message and sharing from the heart. And that's also where the nerves go, right? A lot of people get nervous when they're focusing on themselves too much, and people can be very critical with the conversations in their head. So I always say, come from love. Okay, I've got my little love heart to remind you, always come from love. And that love that you have for others is there for yourself. And as they say, a man on a mission or person on a mission has no competition. So what is that you love to do?
I love that. I haven't heard that.
Yes.
A person on a mission has
no competition.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yes.
And because there's a lot of confusion around what that mission is. So some people think, I don't have a mission to change the world. Well, what about a mission to have as much joy in your own life as possible? What about starting there? Because when we're joyful, that's the energy we're emanating.
Absolutely. Coming from love, not fear. And that starts with you loving yourself, doing whatever it takes to love and acknowledge yourself. Now, particularly as women out there, women can be very hard on themselves. Okay. So just notice if those conversations come up where you're putting yourself down, or, let them go. Okay. And if you're really feeling down right now, I suggest write a list of all the accomplishments that you're proud of. Okay. Write a list of everything you've done that you're proud of. Okay. And that could be waking up this morning. Right? That could be for a moment having a thought of gratitude. What are you grateful for today? Great question to shift your state. And this is the thing, is there's going to be ups and downs. It's not about always being up here and being in a loving space. Of course, there's going to be times we're going to sink down. We're going to have some drama in our lives. We're going to have some things that are going to come unexpected. Unexpected curveballs are going to come. But it's about how do you deal with those, and how can you quickly get through those low points so you can come back up again. And so that you can, the more elevated your state, the more you will lift the energy of those around you, and the more opportunities you will attract to yourself, including media opportunities, including business opportunities. It's law of attraction, law of reciprocity. What you put out will come back. You put out good vibes, it'll come back 10 times. You put out bad vibes, it's going to come back 10 times in a bad way, from not necessarily from the same place, right? This is all universal laws, right? You are incredibly powerful. There is so much opportunity out there when it comes to sharing your message with the masses now. It's massive opportunity. And it starts with perhaps, come along to one of our events and learn some more about this. And, that could be a great start for you. 50% of anything you do is just starting. And there is always support for you, okay? Just reach out. If you have any questions, reach out. You can contact me on all my links there. I would love to support you. I love seeing my clients in the media. And, if others are out there doing it, then you can do it too, right? I'm sure if you think of other experts in your field right now that are out there in the media and what they're saying in the media, I'm sure that you also have some amazing gold to share. So maybe it's time to step up, and now for 2022, for you to make the difference that you are here to make, and that only you can make with your background and your experience and your story. The world is waiting to hear from you.
Oh, what a wonderful message to close our session today, Aldred. And I think that is certainly a great place for anyone watching right now to start, is exactly what are those 5 or maybe 10 things that come to mind that you are most proud of, because when we start focusing on the things we have achieved, the things that did light us up, the things that did move the dial, even a smidge, this is what opens up our possibility thinking to then take those next steps.
Yes.
So what a fabulous note to finish on, and yes, and to come from a place of love and love for ourselves first, and that is what is then going to emanate to others. So thank you on that note, Aldwin. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And any questions, any feedback, other topics you'd like us to cover here, then please do connect with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Just, Leah Zalums, and you'll find me. And with Aldwin there with her links there, hopefully we'll see some of you on the 4th of March, if not before.
Yes, looking forward to that. And Leah, I just noticed that comment just went through private chat, so I can't actually comment from here into the comments section, but maybe if you could just copy that out and put it into the comments section so that others can see it. But basically, linktree/Aldwin is the link, linktr.ee/Aldwin will get all my links. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Leah, for having me.
I think that's gone out now.
There we are. Beautiful. Yes. All right. So now you should be able to see that linktree/Aldwin with all my links. Please stay connected, reach out. And as Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And as I say, shine bright and light up all those around you. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Aldwin. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and stay tuned for our next show on ZedAxis TV. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Bye.